know that herd popularity, something that is massively popular with the herd, is often mediocrity? Don't compete with it. You're in a class by yourself. You're God's peculiar darling. It doesn't matter that you get no likes or comments or popularity. Don't go with the bell-shaped curve. You're way above that. Genius. See it that way. Your day will come. Your time will come. It's all a matter of the seasons. In 1 minute, it's God's timing. In 1 minute, you'll be massively famous. That's the way it works. It'll break loose. So I know there's a lot of people who they're so mediocre. To me, they're so empty. They have nothing to say, and yet they're massively popular. It gets frustrating. I understand, but forget it because of what I just said. Phonies, the biggest phonies I ever met. Anybody can publish a book these days, and you know, they go along with the herd, and they are phonies, and they are popular. So what? Don't compete with it ever. Just sit back. You're in a class by yourself. I know it's hard. Waiting is hard. Much of success is waiting. First, you get your talents together. You write your book. You write your play, whatever it is. You write your novel. Now it's a matter of waiting. And you see other flunkies and losers making it. That's the way it is. Bread and circus. You know? And people have no real taste for the elegant. They go for the gross and the vulgar. Just wait it out and realize what's happening, and don't get frustrated. Somebody has hundreds of thousands of fans, and I see them as empty, vacuous, repetitive, silly, puerile. Think, what the heck? How could these people be so popular? They're saying stupid things. They're saying silly, give me attention things. Worn out phrases. You know, silly cliches. And that's the way it is. Bread and circus. The genius just has to get over that and take your eyes off of that and realize your time will come and it will be far superior and far better for you. May ever call you, nobody likes you, nobody comments, whereas they get millions. That's the way it is. You are from another world, but you will attract the peculiar people to you, the ones that appreciate you. You will attract them. It just takes time. Have patience. And don't compete and think, oh, don't compare yourself with others. Oh, she or he are getting millions of comments and feeling inferior. Do not feel inferior. The fact that they're so popular means they're mediocre, usually. Just wait. A moment came in my childhood where I realized nobody was going to come to my aid. The adults were physically present, but emotionally they were in another world. They could not relate to me emotionally at all. It was a wasteland. And I had to rely totally on God from a very early age. And I remember saying to my sister, I think I was 12, I'm fasting. That's how I show God I love Him. That's what a 12-year-old said. I just intuited that this was the way to do it because nobody would come to my aid, but I had to sacrifice to get it. I had to do something. That's what brought in the austerity. Austerity has rewards. God is watching. It's the notion of sacrifice. You sacrifice something, and God gives you a reward. And it's wonderful. And I've been that way for many decades. And while people do lunch and do dinner and eat and eat and eat and eat, I say let them eat their cake. I'm not attracted anymore. I'm very happy with my smoothies, beans and rice, corn tortilla, and that's it. Syndrome. 2 older sisters didn't know anything about me. It was all the projections from their unconscious, their shadow. They projected onto me. They didn't know anything about me, but they were projecting all this stuff onto me. So at a very early age, I thought, I am going to rise above this. And the only way I knew how was, well, they were fat. They were eating all the time. So I was going to not eat. That's how I would transcend my 2 older sisters. And that's the technique I used all through my life. Whenever I met a bully or some kind of obstruction, instead of eating at it, I may have drank at it. I had to get over that. I had to get over seeking any type of substance and just to not do it and rely on God. And from the first time I did it, it worked so incredibly. Everything just evened out. If I lived an austere life while they were living a hedonistic life, I won out. I saw this because nobody would come to my aid but God. Psychology would call it the devastating wound of the mother complex when she's absent. But there's something that's even worse in a way. It's called parentification, when your mother's an addict or an alcoholic and the child has to become the parent of the mother. I don't know if it's worse because it forces you into adulthood early, but if you miss your childhood, you miss a lot of growing up. And anyway, that was the situation. She was an alcoholic, and I had to grow up fast because she wasn't going to mother me. She was a narcissist. I would hear her gossiping about me to everybody who would listen. I couldn't trust her. Whenever I had a new friend, she'd call him up and sabotage it, talk to the mother, and put me down to everyone. But since I've been reading about narcissistic mothers, I see, okay, that's the main characteristic. She hates her daughter. She's jealous of her daughter, especially when the daughter's adolescent, begins to develop, date boys. Whenever I had a big date with a boy I had a crush on, we were going to a dance, I'd get my hair all done up and everything, a new dress. She'd say I couldn't go. She would floor me. You're on restriction. You can't go. I would be devastated for years over that sort of thing. It happened all the time. And I have since heard of girls who were up and coming like a skater or something, and all of a sudden the mother would take her out of her lessons. Even though she thought she was going to be a star, she was so good, take her out of her lessons. The frustration of having a narcissistic mother. I don't want to turn you against your mother. I'm talking psychology here. We're talking systems theory, how it all comes together. And these things happen. But it often happens also that the narcissist is an addict and she'll suddenly need that daughter to be her parent. Sort of switches the system. I was sort of relieved when the thing clicked into a new dimension that way. It wasn't so awful. Yeah. This is systems theory. It might be sad, but it's truth. In childhood with girls, I know I'm a woman, so there comes a point when strength is the only possible answer to an impossible situation. Growing up quickly and being strong quickly. Fasting took strength. It doesn't take strength to eat all day out of frustration. Fall into your bag. Sink into your swill. That doesn't take strength. It takes strength to not do it and to rely on God and to pray to get out of a situation. I became strong like that very quickly. But later on, as the story goes, and I'll tell you, they got a hold of me and brought me down, and I relapsed into sort of a very low, weak level for a couple decades. They even got control of my finances and made me into just a little weak girl. You do have that. You have relapsed. You have sort of a retreat back into a lower brain or something. A giving up sensation. A decompensation, it's called, where you're strong 1 minute and you just become like a weakling suddenly. They got you. They got you and they brought you down, and you let them do it. That's what happened. But now I'm strong again. I got married to a Christian man who gave me space and still gives me space to evolve on my own. But he's there as a backup, a strength. And now I'm back better than ever. But I can see this, how I was strong, they got a hold of me, and I went down. And I just sort of existed on a subnormal level, and then I went back up again. And perhaps you can see that with your own life. Just the mere fact that I got into the situations I did with men, abusive men, showed that I had to endure that situation to learn enough to never experience it again. Just the fact that you're in that situation shows you had to endure it to never do it again. And that's what I think. My parents were old enough to be my grandparents. All of my relatives were like that. Suddenly a whole generation died, and I was left alone. And I had a thing for older men, I guess, because I wanted to repeat I lost my parents. And my first husband was 20 years older, an alcoholic. And I had attraction to older men, thinking they were more mature. Not true. Not true. And I had to go through a lot of abuse from older men to lose that attraction entirely. So you see, we're attracted to situations to repeat the past in order to correct it, and we do, but it hurts a lot to endure it. To the point where the only alternative was to shatter. And then, of course, they get you legally. They get a hold of you legally. And now you're under the control of people who don't understand you, who are projecting their crap onto you, who are a totally other mindset, and only want to keep you down. What do you do then? Well, what I did was I went to another town. They had control of my finances, but I was in another town, and I just lived a subnormal existence, attracting people who were putting me down and using me the same way. Using me. And this happens to single women, where they are used. I just can't even believe this happened. For decades this went on. Just weasels. Just losers. Having control because I had lost my strength. Possibly from addiction, because God's Spirit will only strive so far with you, you know. That's what the Bible says. It strives just so far. And then He will just hand you over to your addictions, your predilections, your affections. He'll just hand you over to it. That's what you want to do. Here, have at it. And then you're weak, and then they really get you. Legally. Yeah. Thank God that era is over. I sure wouldn't want to be any younger. Why did I go for older men? Because I couldn't stand my hippie peers. Couldn't stand it. They were just chaos to me. Just total chaos. I felt it since I went to kindergarten. Running around, because that's what happened after World War II. The standards changed. They were no longer, rigidly in lines and behaved well. It was chaotic. It was a different theory on how to bring up children. Spock, I guess, dare not to punish or whatever. They stopped punishing, and the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. And to me, I couldn't stand it. So I went for older men, but that didn't mean they were mature at all. He was an alcoholic. That's not mature. An alcoholic is stuck in emotional immaturity. They don't evolve. Yeah, that was bad. I hate to even think about it, but that was bad. For some reason, my survival strategy was weight management. I felt that was a way to transcend everybody. My sisters were fat, they were bullies, okay, I'll control my weight. Yeah, that was a big thing. It becomes calcified into your identity. Well, look at me today, I talk about diet and fasting. It's calcified into your identity. This is the way to overcome my sisters. They're fat, they can't stop eating. I'll not eat. I'll transcend them. So even that helped me ultimately. Our survival strategy becomes our new identity for the new life. We have two lives, the old miserable one and the new wonderful one, from what we learned in the first one. My poor brother-in-law, who was married to my bully sister, he was labeled paranoid psychotic because he could see between the lines like I could. He could see what people were really like. And my sister did the same thing to him before she did it to me. Oh, he's crazy, the way he's talking. He's talking about the Bilderbergers and a world conspiracy, things that are common knowledge today. And this was way back then. And in those days, if you talk like that, it was mandatory drugging. They would drug you. You don't dare talk like that in those days. And most women are not real knowledgeable about politics. They just want to judge things if it's not what they think. And boy, she went to town on him. Got him labeled professionally as paranoid psychotic. Even if it was just because he saw between the lines. He saw double meanings. He was brilliant. He was smart. Too smart for her. And he mixed it with alcohol and died. The antipsychotic medications are very, very strong. You don't dare mix them with alcohol. They didn't tell you that in those days. And he died. So that was another, survivor refugee of that system. You don't dare see the truth. You see, the empath in a system sees the truth, and they hate him for it. Just like they hated Jesus for telling the truth. He spoke with authority about what people were like, about God's redemption, about how to rescue yourself from it. And they didn't like hearing that. And he put down fake churches and fake religion. The Pharisees, they hated him for that. You don't dare speak the truth in a false system. And that's what happened to my brother-in-law. He died. Once you're labeled paranoid psychotic by the medical professionals, you've basically had it. He lost his family. He lost his kids, his marriage, his home. And when a man loses all that, they often suicide. It's an unspoken fact, that when men are divorced, they often suicide. He didn't do it that way, but he did it another way, by drinking, and he was found dead in his trailer. Very sad situation, but it was all systems theory. Systems only need one scapegoat. When one dies or moves away or recovers, another one will take his place. When Don, Dominic, died, I became the next scapegoat. And I got weak. With all them coming down on me like that, I got really weak. And I sunk in my swill. And it was decades. But you see, it's not lost time. Because even if you're in a jail cell, there's an underground thing going on. Underground games. It's called fertile anarchy. It feels totally confused in the inside. And things are being rejumbled up, working out. And you come out of it much wiser. But it feels like total mass confusion at the time. Gee, I thought I was this, and now I see that I'm this. I'm just a grasshopper. And here I was a college professor. And now I'm down here controlled by my sister. And she's gossiping about everybody, and they all believe her. And nobody will listen to me. And there's 2 against 1, and they just naturally think the 2 older sisters know what they're talking about, and I don't. Because the majority rules in this world. And I lived that way, so frustrated. Nobody would listen to me, nobody would answer my questions. Once they label you professionally, nobody will talk to you or answer your questions. So I became a giver. People would need my help, and I would take them in and be a hostess, even though they created total chaos in my life. Because you see, if I was a giver, I would be seen as a generous person. But that isn't what it was coming from. It wasn't coming from generosity, it was coming from lack. Total lack of strength and boundaries. And trying to up my reputation somehow. Trying to up my image somehow. That I was a good hostess and a giver to people who didn't deserve it and who were just using me. Man, it's not the same thing. A Christian isn't a weak doormat. And a Christian stands up for the boundaries because you're protecting something very precious in the inside, your true self that God designed. But you see, all those boundaries are laid bare. And with imploded boundaries comes lost morals. It's just the way it is. And then shame and guilt, and then more giving being used. Man. But I went down that far in order to be a true psychologist. It isn't just book learning with me. I know about insanity, and I know it's created by other people. I know how it happens, and that's where hundreds of books were written from. I felt if I wasn't useful, I'd be abandoned. That my value and worth only came from output. What I gave, what I put up with, what I tolerated, and later on how many books I wrote. Only output. No identity apart from that. Just works and work and work. I'm glad I did it all. I could have some value. But that's the way it is. Not just being and loving yourself the way you are, but you've got to work it out. You've got to be a giver to people who don't deserve it. And that's a sin. That's a sin to yourself. And you're not helping them any. You're just making them worse. You're only enabling them. In a crowded room, I would feel such profound loneliness. It stole my breath. Wherever I went, whether parties, social, crowds, the loneliness was out of this world. I couldn't stand it. And I'd get back into my own abode and close the door and lock the door. Oh, joy. Joy. But being messed up because I didn't understand the dynamics, which I now do and which I'm explaining to you. Why would a person feel such joy being alone? And why would they hate being part of a crowd? Yeah. But now I'm healed. I can visit with people and love it. And I forgave my sister-in-law, a great relationship. Things even out eventually. I have a new family, and everything is normal. The way it is with lucky people, born into normal families, And that's what I have now. A normal life, a happy life, every day useful, but in a different way. Now I see that everything that happened to me had to happen to trigger the desire for true resonance, to understand at such depth the new psychology, that people problems are the basis of mental illness, and exactly how it happens. I've been there. I've been down in the pits. I don't see how anybody who has not experienced it can understand it fully. I really don't. But I see exactly my life going like this, zigzag movements, depending on obstruction. Right diet for me, which apparently is high carb. Orange juice, smoothie, beans and rice, which are fruits, with salsa on it, 18-hour fasting. Waking up, it's wow! All night long. Last night I woke up at 1 a.m. I was so high all night long. It's like a pill. It is incredible. The day before I had wheat, which according to the internet is also a fruit. Wheat, look it up. But I'll never do that again. I must be gluten sensitive because, it was bad. Nausea and sleepiness all day long. Just feeling drugged. Okay? Won't do that again. Never have to feel that way again. So beans, rice, corn, yes. Wheat, no. You just learn, delete it, and never do it again. Other than that, I love my 18 hours fast. If anything at night, maybe a tablespoon of almond butter if I get really hungry. But I can't eat a big dinner. There's no way. I wrote a book called Just Skip Dinner, and there's just no way I can eat even lunch and sleep well. I exist on 2 cat naps a day, not long sleep. Maybe I go to bed around 8:30 at night, 9:30, rise around midnight, maybe after that or 1, and I don't require any more. I've got so much energy, it's unreal. I recommend this diet. It works.